In this video, I'm going to show you how to easily create a Power BI dashboard using our school enrollment data that we had discussed during our session. You'll see here that I have Power BI Desktop already pulled up, so hopefully you've already installed that. And the first step we're going to do is to load our data. So if you'll recall from our PowerPoint, we have some Ohio School Enrollment building information from fiscal year 18 that we're going to load. So we're going to load that first. So I'm going to come up here to get data. You can also do this from the initial prompt that you get as you're coming into Power BI with the big yellow window and stuff there. But I'm going to go to click data in the top ribbon there, and I've got Excel data, so I'm going to click on the Excel icon and give it just a second. It'll come up with some options for me, I hope. Oh, still waiting. There we go. And it's coming up to the last folder that I use. So you'll need to search through where you stored your data, but I'm going to click on Ohio School Enrollment Building FY18 and load that data in. Click OK. And you'll see it's connecting. And it gives me, this is not showing up on your screen fully, it gives me a navigator. So I'm going to click on the spreadsheet. This was the first tab in the spreadsheet that I had named. I'm going to leave it with that name, and I'm going to say load. So you see it's loading my data. And now we see that data over here in the right. So we've loaded all of our high school data. So now let's go to the next step in our process. We are going to now add a stacked column chart by school name with students in grades 9, 10, 11, and 12, and add a title, High School Student Enrollment, and then move the legend to the bottom. So High School Student Enrollment. So I want to add a stacked bar chart or column chart. So I'm going to click on that. Then I'm going to add my data. So I'm going to use students from grade 12. I'm going to add that as a value. Grade 11, grade 10, and grade 9. Just drag those over to the values. You can see it created one, but I want it by school name. So I'm going to come over here, and I know because I'm more familiar with the data that this name feature has the school name. So I'm going to drag that over to the axis, and what that does is that puts it along the axis. And I'm going to drag this out a little bit further, make this a little bigger and easier to see. And now we can see the various high schools. So I'm going to create that. And then I'm going to change, I want to change the title. Right now it's not very descriptive, so I'm going to come over here to this paintbrush and format this chart. So as long as I'm clicked into this chart, I can format it. Anytime I click out, if I go to format, this is going to try to format things for the entire dashboard. So I'm going to click in that chart and I'm going to format it. I'm going to go to title. It's already got a title on here, but I want to change the title. High School Enrollment, I think is what I said. I'm going to make the font a little darker, so I'm going to make it black, and I'm going to make it a little bigger, and I'm going to watch my chart as I increase the font. And that looks pretty good to me. So that's that. And then I wanted to move my legend. That's a personal preference. I like my legends at the bottom, so I'm going to move that legend from the top to the bottom. So you can see legends on. We could click it off if we want and it goes away, but usually helpful to have the legend. So I'm going to add the legend and move that to the bottom. And now I've completed that task. See the legend move to the bottom. So let's go see what our next task is going to be. And now I want to create a donut chart that's going to communicate enrollment diversity. Add those 6 different enrollment streams and add the title enrollment diversity. I want to show percentages by going to the detail label and changing it to style and then add a legend. So little bit of action here, but let's add a donut chart. So now I have my stacked column chart. I'm going to add a donut chart and come over here and I can see, oh, this is a donut chart. So I'm going to click on it. And now I need just to add my values. So I wanted to add Asian as values, Black as values, Latino, multi, Native American, and white. So we'll add those 6 values. I think I've got all of those. And you can see those showed up. So now I want to format this thing. So I'm going to go to the paintbrush. I'm going to change my title. Rather than listing all of those, I'm going to call it Enrollment Diversity. And I'm going to make it similar, look similar to my high school chart. So I'm going to change the font to black and the text size. That looks good. And then I wanted to show the percentages instead of just the labels here. So I'm going to go to the detail label. We see that's on. If I turn it off, I get no labels at all. But right now it's just doing the type of data that's displayed. I want to show the value. So I'm going to click here. And instead of label style being the category of the data, I want to show percent of total. So I changed that. And we can see that. I'm going to actually make that black too, just a little bit bigger so it's a little easier to see. And then now I've got all those percentages, but no one knows what they're representing. So I'm going to add a legend right here. Clicking that on, we see add a legend. That's great. I'm going to move it to the bottom and leave it as that. I might actually make that font just a little bit bigger. That looks a little easier to read. So now I have my donut chart for enrollment diversity. Then I want to add a stacked bar chart with school name with students in grades 1 through 8 and add a title elementary middle school student enrollment and move my legend to the bottom. So I'm going to add that's a clustered, I want stacked bar, and I want grades 1, 2, oh, didn't drag that over very well, 2, 3, 4. I could do this more quickly, but let's keep it simple. Drag those over to what I want. And 8. And you see those all show up. And now I'm going to add the school name, much like I did for my stacked column chart, as the axis. And we see that shows up. I'm going to go change the title to elementary / middle school enrollment. Let's make it a little darker and larger. That looks good. And then I want to move my legend to the bottom. Click on it and move it to the bottom. Okay, so now I've got that. And I want to actually move that down because I know that I'm going to add some filters for the entire dashboard. We're going to call them slicers. So now I'm going to add a slicer to act as a filter for the entire dashboard. So I'm going to add a slicer for county and add a title and border for this. So I'm going to go to up here in my visualizations. You see this little one that looks kind of like got a funnel there, slicer. I'm going to click on that. And I want to be able to slice it by county. So I'm going to say the fields are going to be the county. You see it automatically populates Adams, Allen in alphabetical order for me. I'm going to make this a little smaller because I'm going to add another filter. But just like the charts, we can actually edit format the filters. So I'm going to go to the format here, and I'm actually going to, the title's off on this, but I'm going to make a title, and it's going to say select county, to encourage people to, say, hey, this is a selection. So it's going to select county, and slicer, there, we took that header off. And then let's actually give it a border. so it looks a little different than things on the chart. And you can see it's got a border. So it stands out a little bit because I didn't put a border on my other elements. And then finally we want to add a slicer for district names. So not only do I want to be able to pick the county, let me pick the school district in the counties because those can differ quite a bit. So I'm going to add a slicer there, and I've got district name is going to be my filter. Likewise, I'm going to format this. I'm going to add a title. Click on that. Say select school district and make that black and bigger. And then I'm going to turn my header off there because I put a title and add a border. And now I have my dashboard all completed. So let me shrink those down, and now you can see and we can interact with it much like we would any other dashboard. Now I'm looking at Butler County. I can look at the Ross School District. Once I click off of that, I can come down and look at Hamilton County in the Cincinnati area. You can see it's got a lot of high schools, and you can scroll through and see all of the different high schools and elementary schools. We could look at Cincinnati City Schools and see the various things. We see Walnut Hills is by far the largest high school. So there's a lot we can learn from our dashboard. So this is how we would create a dashboard using Power BI and some of the very simple things that we can do with it.